So that brings us to the end of Raghu's segment. So now over to Devil's Advocate. So
And Raj, you have a question.
Oh, should I ask my question? Okay. So I want to ask Rathna about how she started Anjali, her dance school, back in 1975, was it? In Texas, and what the dance scene was like that back then, and how it's grown since, and what inspired you to start a dance school in the U.S. after you moved here. So if you could talk a little about that.
First, there was no dance scene. Dance was not seen. There was nothing when I came. Nothing. Nothing. The only dance school that existed here was in New York, Padmini. Actress Padmini was Padmini Ramachandran at that time. She was teaching, and they must have. When my husband came here 5 years before me, there were like about a couple of hundred Indians at that time. When I came, there may have been about 500 total Indians. That's it. I think there are about close to 200,000 in and around Houston now. And people had actually requested Padmini whether she would be able to fly from New York and fly to Houston, every now and then and teach. And she had told them, it's not possible. I can't keep flying from New York to teach. I have my own big school there, and it's not that close. And I can't just come from there and teach classes. So she had to just completely refused to do anything like that. She had come for a performance, and I had just arrived. And I went to her performance. And Padmini, I used to call her Papi Akka, because it was Lalli Papi Ragi. That's how they used to call it. There was also a movie, there was also a song that became famous like that. They were very close friends of my mother and aunts. And when my mother celebrated my Aksharabhyasam, the first steps, they were taught to me by Lalita.
Oh.
First steps. And for my Arattarangetram, I have a photograph of the audience, and seated in the front row were Varu Ramaya Pillai, Lalita, Padmini, Ragini, Kamala Lakshman, Radha. I mean,
Wow.
all the teachers, all the dancers, everybody in town, they were seated there at Vani Mahal in Chennai. I had my Arattarangetram. And for a long time, Papyaka used to tell me, பெரிய டான்ஸர் ஆயிருக்கே தெரியுமா என்ன எங்க அக்கா தான் உனக்கு ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க first. So I used to think of her with a lot of gratitude that she must have had a really Rasiana kai, even if it was just a teyate just for naam ke vaste on that day. It was a special day for me, and I guess she was a very nice person, and I guess whatever she taught, it seemed to have blossomed in some way. So Padmini, when I attended her performance here, she immediately saw me. She said, "Rathna Papa, eppadi irkemma?" And people looked around. They said, "Oh my God! So this woman has just arrived, and she obviously knows this person." And they were all stunned. And I was feeling a little embarrassed, because I didn't know many people here, and I didn't want to show off that, oh, I know her. And then she just automatically, she came and gave me a hug, and she said, இவ இருக்கும்போது ஏன் என்ன கூப்பிடுறீங்க, நீங்க அங்க இருந்த நல்ல அருமையா டான்ஸ் பண்றா இந்த குழந்தை, நீங்க எவ்வளவு கேளுங்க சொல்லி கொடுப்பா. And so I said, I was not prepared to teach. I wanted to perform. I wanted to do my PhD, and I had all kinds of dreams. And I certainly, teaching was not on the agenda at that time. But soon after Padmini's performance, and she put that seed, she planted that in the parents' minds. And then just immediately after that, there was the ambassador, Indian ambassador, was visiting. And since I was the only artist around, they said, Rathnaji, will you please perform? I said, okay, sure. I was just waiting to dance. Imagine not being able to dance. I was going crazy. Not having a teacher, not going regularly to class. I had withdrawal symptoms. I said, okay, I will dance. And I would practice in, the restaurant my husband and his friends owned. I would go there and practice after it was closed on the indoor-outdoor carpet, and keep on cursing, saying, this is carpet, I can't dance on this. It was a little difficult in those days. So Padmini suggested, and then when I performed for the ambassador, a whole bunch of mothers came, and then they said, "You have to teach, you have to teach." And I steadfastly refused, and they steadfastly pursued. And finally I gave, and then I actually called both my gurus. I was so worried. I called them and asked them, "Do you think I should teach?" And I was a teacher, என்ன சொல்றீங்க நீங்க teacher? And she said, என்னடி இத்தனை வருஷம் கத்துட்டு என்ன பண்ண போற அதோட, ஒழுங்கா சொல்லிக்கொடு, நீ கத்துனது 10 பேர் சொல்லிக் கொடுத்தா அது நல்லதானே. And then my master said, the Upanishads say that Vidya and Dhanam, you cannot take them with you when you die. You have to spread it, give it away. So, Amma, why are you not teaching it? You should. So I said, okay, if my gurus are blessing me, then otherwise I thought, what, do I have the temerity to teach? How much do I know? I was in my 20s. I said, what do I know that I can teach? How can I call myself a teacher? How much knowledge do I have? And I was so petrified. I said, I don't know if I can teach. And I tried to teach, be as strict as they were, and people dropped out, right, left, and center. Nobody wanted, and I didn't know what I had done wrong. The only ones who stayed were the ones who were very serious about dance, and I said, okay. I said, no, I'll just stick with these and let the others drop out, because I don't know if I can teach any other way. And I guess that was my first lesson, how to teach and how to maintain standards, because it proved to be very difficult. In the beginning, it was very difficult. There was no dance scene, nothing existed. What is now called the Houston International Festival, and is spread out over 2 solid full weekends, with a big gala on a Thursday and another thing on Friday, and the mayor's ball and this and whatnot. Used to be called the Main Street Theatre. It was on the corner of a street called Main Street. I arrived, I discovered that this festival was taking place, and I called someone and said, I'd love to dance. I said, sure. And the stage was on a corner. I still have a picture of me dancing there at the Main Street Theatre in 1975. And then it became the Houston Festival, then became the Houston International Festival. And I probably am, I don't know how many they have, I probably am the only artist that has been participating for 37 years without a break.
Wow.
First me, and then my students.
That's a great
So
achievement.
how did you manage orchestra
When you
those
started?
days? Did you have recordings?
Yes, I mean, I had recorded music in India before coming, but I thought it was only for practice. I didn't think that I could actually use it and go perform. And then, of course, I found out, and in the beginning I was very unhappy. I didn't know how to adjust to this recorded music. I never performed to recorded music, and it was very difficult. My mind would not accept anything that was fixed. And that's why I don't dance that much in Houston. I don't dance that much here. I keep all of it. I dance mostly in India when I dance with the orchestra, because it's difficult for me to dance without an orchestra at this stage in my life. Very hard. But the students seem to find it quite easy, and they adjust perfectly well when the orchestra comes to practice with them for a performance of Arattarangetram. They are able to switch, and they're able to do it. And I keep thinking, I wish I could switch as easily. But the joy of working with musicians, that interaction, that give and take, it's difficult. When you don't have that, I don't know how well you can bring out the feelings.
So shall we go to the next segment?
That's how I started the Anjali Center, Raj. And also, I mean, somebody asked me, oh, so is that your daughter's name? I said, I don't have daughters. I have 2 sons. But my older son has named my little 4-year-old granddaughter. She was named Anjali after the school. But the name, because it is the first Samyuta Hasta.
Right, yeah.
And also, Anjali is also an offering. And I thought, okay, now this is my new home. And to my new home, to my new city that I'm going to be adopting for God knows how long. I thought it was temporary. I was wrong. I said, okay, this is my offering. And it was a short name. It was easy. I was very concerned about very long Sanskritized names being butchered. And I didn't want that happening. Even this they call, because this being Texas, often they say the Anjali, the Anjali dance. And I have to turn and tell them, we're not Spanish. And then they say the Anjali. Oh, we are not French either. How do you say it? Anjali. And they say the Anjali? No. Anjali? No. Anjali. And it is so funny to hear them. And my students are dying laughing. They say, no, did you find it so hard? I said, no, because 2 short syllables they're not used to. So they elongate something. But Anjali was the funniest of all. I don't know why they thought we were Mexican. With our big botos and nose rings. But that's how Anjali started. Okay?
So I guess in order to segue into the Devil's Advocate, I also want to ask you, so did you see any major changes in, I guess the dance community in the U.S. from 1975 to today? I mean, obviously it has grown, but have you seen any changes in?
Yes, there are authentic teachers and there are not authentic teachers, because there are people who learn it for 6 months and start a school. And I'm amazed that there are people who don't know that it's not good and still learn. And there are people who mix Bollywood and classical and teach everything. And there are people who call it classical and teach only Bollywood, only, movie songs and, think. And there are people they're suckers who swallow all this. And then I keep thinking, why is it that I'm pursuing this classical thing so diligently? These people are doing these strange things. And of course, they have many more students than I'll ever have and make like 10 times more money. And then I think, I'm so glad I'm not doing what they're doing. I'm so glad I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I don't know if I could have. It's like, I would feel I'm like Faustus selling my soul. Or, a short period of great joy, prosperity and whatnot. Or would I be happy making money that way? I've not been trained that way. I come from a very classical family. My mother would disown me if I did anything in Bollywood. And my gurus will be turning in their graves if they even thought that I could have done something so sacrilegious. And I have never grown up doing... when we were growing up, such things never existed. There was no Bollywood. There was no Bollywood. The word didn't exist. There was no Bollywood dance. People did some, they used to call it recording dance. Recording dance,
Oh.
A recording dance.
Because it was done on a recorded music.
Yeah, the RPM.
Oh, the RPM.
78.
Okay.
Recording
Record.
dancer. And I didn't know what recording dancer was. Because we went to perform somewhere and they wanted to know if we were doing recording dance. And I said, what is recording dance? And they said, recording dance. And I said, but what is recording dance? Dancing to a record. I said, oh, people do? And then I was told, yes, they did. But it was, in tents and in those in circuses and all that. So it was not a done thing. So I grew up when this was not known. So I was never exposed to it. When somebody does the Bollywood dance and they do it well, I watch and enjoy. It's fine. But that's the extent of my interaction with them or my knowledge of this. There are lots of people who do that because it's a money-making thing.
Yeah.
There are people who actually learn classical dance who don't do it anymore because they find this is more lucrative. And I feel sad.
Yes.
I feel very sad that they've given that up because if people like them who have learned it give up, then what hope is there for those who haven't learned it? Then this is the only path for them. But they have mushroomed. There are many. When I came, there was no dance schools for at least 7 years after I came here, 8 years. Then there were other schools that came up, and some of them are really very, very, very strict, very authentic, and go strictly by what their gurus have taught them. They follow that that margam with great with religious faith. And there are those that nobody knows who their gurus are. They don't mention gurus. They say they have learned, or they mention dead people who cannot even corroborate it. Okay, and then they teach. I don't know what they teach, and then they choreograph, and they present, and you look at it, and I just feel a sense of sadness. That's all. And I keep hoping that these fly-by-night schools should not be shouldn't keep going on too long, because I think then there's damage done to classical arts.
Yeah, recently here in Chicago Temple Banquet, a bunch of classes that were teaching classical dances were invited to perform. So we went from our class, and Sushmit Arun Kumar students came, and some other teacher students came, and there was authentic Kathak performance, and they danced on Mere Dhol Na Sun, and I could tell from the choreography that it was not even it didn't have any content in it. So even though they called it authentic Kathak and they danced in a Bollywood number, they didn't even have enough content to fill the song. So when I asked them as to what is going on, the organizer, she said, oh, the teacher started teaching Kathak, but then everybody started demanding Bollywood, and she had no audience for Kathak. I'm like, this is a temple. This is the audience that you're going to find for a classical performance. I mean, what else do you need? So, yeah. It was very sad. But I clearly told my displeasure to the organizers. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I was on the temple board, and I had an argument. I said, and I was in charge of I said, as long as I'm in charge of the cultural programs, temple programs cannot involve movies. But when the temple is organizing, especially if you're saying for Mahashivratri, they can't do Om Namah Shivaya just because it's from a movie. No, there are other songs you can do. Even Kali Tuki. How many songs there are on Shiva? Why would you want to do something from a movie? Not necessary. So I vetoed. I became very unpopular. But luckily, it was only a 4-year.
And the saddest part was the audience cheered the loudest for that song, because it's a very popular song, and most of the people in the audience have heard that song. So it was just like, I was like, oh my god, okay.
I know what you're going through. We all go through that too. We have Bollywood teachers who started teaching last year, and have 3 times as many students as I have.
Yeah, we recently I'll show you that video probably after this episode shooting is over. We saw one exercise routine where they were teaching the classical grapevine. That was ta tai tai tat, and they were saying that this is the classical grapevine, and this will tone your body, your back.
Classical grapevine will tone your back. Oh my god! Where was this?
This was on YouTube. No, this was on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube, I Namaha, do puja to YouTube. You find all kinds of things there.
Yeah, we recently found Gangnam Style in that.
Had to happen, of course.
Alright. On these lines, we should move on to the next segment. I'm sorry if I'm cutting people off, because I can't hear. I'm hearing things on a lag. So I apologize.
It's fine.
But I think we should go to the last segment before wrapping up. So Akash, this is like the devil's advocate segment. So we are going to try and present both sides of a coin, if you will, and try to see, settle a question of, controversial nature, or something that needs more discussion openly. So we thought we'll discuss, since you've been here for so long and you've seen the organizing scene in US for classical dancers from India, and you obviously have a great experience in organizing things back in India also. From a dancer's perspective, you've given a lot of performances. So do you think organizing is arts is not taken seriously in India, and it's a little more systematized in the US here, and therefore is it easier for a dancer in the US than in India these days to perform, or maybe other countries other than India? Somehow it seems like Indian organizing is very chaotic. So do you have any opinions on that?
I beg to differ. It's not true, because if you take all the sabhas in Chennai, or even Shanmukhana Sabha, NCBA, all of them, they have regular seasons, and they're very, very correct about the program. And you have to actually, a Habitat Center, all those places, India International Center. I mean, these are places, I have performed everywhere there, and I know that you have to apply well in advance, and you have to write to them, and they really organize things a year in advance, and they are very good about the way they go about Krishna Sabha and all that. Pretty much it goes according to time. They're pretty good also about maintaining the time, academy, and all those places. We have, because we have a season of events in India. I'm talking about the big cities and the well-established organizations that are very well run. But their organizations themselves, they're not answerable to anyone what money they make, and they make a lot of money because there are a bunch of dancers who don't have a platform to perform. Many of them from well-to-do families, very good-looking young women who have learned dance and who may not be great dancers or may not ever become great dancers, but they look very presentable on stage. They want to perform. They get a platform, and in return for a nice large chunk of money. And nobody knows what happens to that money. And sabhas do collect fees from a lot of. I'm talking about mostly about innumerable sabhas that have sprouted up in the recent past that give opportunities, especially to NRI dancers, because these people, have backed by green dollars. Many young girls who have learned here who want to perform there, and they're willing to pay and perform. Here, we apply for grants, and so if I receive a $20,000 grant, I have to raise $20,000, and I'm answerable to every penny that I spend. I have to have receipts. I have to have proof that this money was paid to so and so for this reason, for this purpose, and those final reports have to be sent in. So it's harder actually to organize here because of the paperwork involved, and it's hard to sell solo artists anymore because people are not interested in seeing a single dancer, even of the caliber of Alamel Valli. They want group presentations. They want something wow factor. They want something exciting, something titillating for the moment. And they're not
collaborative.
Yeah. They want something that is enjoyable to watch. Enjoyable. That's it. For that the duration of that hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it's hard. It's hard to organize. It's hard to raise money because raising the 20,000 that you are missing, that you have to match, is not easy anymore. And you have to keep looking for private donations. They don't come that easily. The same people are tapped by everybody. And so organizing here is more difficult, I feel. And dancers going from here do not get as many, they get chances only if they are able to shell out some money, and to only some chota mota organizations are willing to present them. But the mainstream doesn't always, it's not always going in for these dancers unless they are dancers who are established in India before coming here, and so they are already known. Then they are invited and they perform. But otherwise, dancers who have been trained here but are very good maybe, but do not get opportunities because they are NRI dancers. And then, okay, well, if you pay, I can find a stage for you.
Yeah. So, other than Indian organizers here, the American organizers here, and not just for Indian dancers, but all these big theaters and performing centers and museums, they have professional curators, and they have a norm of selecting people. They have professional people who are selecting artists, and they pay the artists well. They treat them well and stuff like that. So that's the system that I was referring to, rather than the private organizers who raise money. And in India, for example, like you said, if there are NRI dancers, then they are stereotyped as being not good. Maybe rightly so, maybe not so much. But there is no standard way of measuring performance. Or even accepting, you don't know what's the criteria for selecting performances either. It's very hush-hush and closed doors and stuff like that.
I mean, there's a lot of cronyism, lot of favoritism, lot of wires being pulled everywhere. And of course, You need to have, you need to know the right people. You have to have the right connections.
Yeah.
To be able to perform in India.
I mean,
And
even
here, we invite artists and we reject, we get so many offers. And I just choose who Samskriti can present and who we cannot present and who we cannot afford to present. We just say no. We have the choice. But, we don't ask for any extra money from anybody. We pay artists very well. We treat them very well.
Right.
But artists, I know when I go from here and I perform in India, I'm not paid that well.
Right.
I have to pay. It barely covers my orchestra. Except, at least, I have not been asked to pay to perform. Thank God. So, I'm out of that category. Thank God. And I still end up spending some of my money for this. But we don't do that to artists coming from there.
Yeah.
So,
that
why this difference is, I spoke about it one time during an article or conference. It spoke about the grants too. We had a discussion on that.
Okay.
But not a question that people were willing to answer. So.
Yeah, I think it's because here things are more transparent. Like,
Yes.
like what I at least I feel here is like, okay, I know that I have to do this paperwork or submit these things, and so that procedure is kind of well laid out in comparison to what Sabha. If I apply and I don't know on what they how
Basis
want
they
to-
select, yes.
yeah, and what they're going to do and how they are going to select. So that becomes a bit of a issue, and that's probably something. I mean, we have to think about aloud at least, like how that situation can be improved.
And
And
I think in Chennai, some of the artists they don't go and apply. They consider applying for performances as something that is not suited to their standards. They expect people to invite them to perform. So I
No,
think
but
that's
I think the top dancers are invited anyway. They
Yes.
don't apply.
yeah, not the top dancers, the others.
The others nowadays are applying because I meet a lot of young dancers who say, apply பண்ணிருக்கோம் சொல்லலையே அவங்க. Because I think they are. Now they have, this application thing didn't exist.
In
Until a
India,
few
I
years
think
ago.
earlier it was all word of mouth and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Now
we
that
are-
there are more dancers, so I think application has become a norm.
Yeah, because they need some kind of criteria on like selecting.
Yeah.
Even among the young dancers, upcoming artists, they need some standard rather than
Yeah.
just looking at the CV and coming from a reputed guru.
Okay.
So it looks like other than Chennai and few major cities like Bombay and Delhi where cultural activity is very high. Other than that, in the rest of
Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Bangalore is very, very, very alive and very vibrant now.
Yes.
It's been taken over from Chennai at this because there's so much of dance activity going on there. Immense.
Right. But I think in the US it's a little more, as far as I see it, it's a little more uniform other than like the central states, which kind of have a preference for non-ethnic dance performances. But it's more or less well connected and, spread out network of dance organizing. So I feel like somehow we are very hung about in Chennai Sabhas, and if it's not in Chennai Sabha or Bangalore Sabha, it's going to be some spick-maker performance. But other than that, throughout India, the dance organizing needs to be revived or at least systematized in some way because we don't have any professionals who organize, curate, arrange shows, etc. So,
Couple of people are now trying to become like agents, impresarios
Yes, impresarios,
to there, but that idea hasn't caught on.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, Uday Shankar or Ram Gopal, they had impresarios who used to bring them or like take them to different places, but we don't have them now. I mean,
Yeah, the problem is then if they have a impresario, then they have to pay them, and artists themselves don't get much money. So then where's the question of paying them a portion of their?
So now it becomes the artist himself, like or herself.
Yeah. So they have the pressure of organizing, making sure everything is in place, and all that. So I think it to an extent affects their performances also.
Yeah,
There are agents even here in the US.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Some of the dancers have started using agents.
Like I was the president of Speak My K in UIUC, so we used to organize a lot of music concerts. So all at least artists from India who are touring in the US, they have all US agents, and a lot of dancers do too. So they do have agents these days. So
Is that a good business?
I think so.
Are you considering stuff?
Yeah, I'll probably, if my main career doesn't work, probably I'll start the business.
That's
Yeah,
a really good idea.
Always
I mean, think about it. The artist has a lot to worry about, including even like organizing their orchestra. That must be, a lot of stressful for them.
Yeah, that's
The
why.
agents don't arrange anything other than the schedule of the dancer or the artist.
Right, but it would take off, some of their responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean, even making an itinerary for an artist itself is a
Yeah.
big groundwork to be done.
Yeah.
So, Aka, do you have any last words on whether it is like easier being a dancer here coming from India, or it's easier for an NRI dancer going to say Chennai Sabhas in performing, like organizing wise, like which is the dancer's paradise, India or outside India?
I think dancing in India. I still am very happy dancing in India. There's something.
It's also the audience, isn't it? Like Indian audience is a completely different vibe from who watches dance here. Usually it's the parents of the kids who are learning dance and then their extended relatives. I don't know if...
I've danced for complete white audiences here. And, they were all quite fascinated and asked me a lot of questions. But, somehow it was...
It usually starts with the jewelry and the makeup and the significance of
No, they were talking about the dance. I danced in,
really?
in Italy, France, and all those places. They are completely fascinated with the dance. They love it.
Right.
But I'm just saying, in general, when you dance in India, especially if you're dancing in the academy or, Christian dance or something, there is something there, it's hallowed ground. So, you have to feel something. I really felt that when I danced in Chidambaram, not for the Anjali festival itself, but the next day in front of God. How can you feel that anywhere else? No audience, no organization. You can't, it's very difficult to feel that. So I think there is something in India. At heart, I'm fiercely Indian, so I think for me dancing in India is the high point.
So the conclusion is organization doesn't matter as long as you're dancing for the Lord.
Organization matters. I wouldn't dance for any organization now. If some Tom or Dick or Harry or their third cousin come and say, "Oh, we have an organization, would you like to come and dance for us?" I'll be very concerned. Even if they say, "La, kaas kudka venda," I say no. I say no, because my orchestra will be singing and I'll be playing and probably there'll be nobody watching other than, my sister who's the only one living in Chennai. So I wouldn't, I'd feel better saying I performed at the Krishna Sabha because I know the audience that comes is serious.
Yeah, the Rasika base in Chennai is very, very, very different than what is in other places that time.
Alright. So I'm going to wrap up this segment and just quickly finish with Aka. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. And you have to answer briefly or as brief as you can be. So no thinking.
I'll answer you. If I fall asleep in the next 2 minutes, just think I answered. You provide your own answers.
No, you should say the first word that comes to your mind.
Yeah, it's like
association of thoughts. Okay.
This is more for audience to know your dance personality than anything else. Okay. What comes to your mind when I say the following things? Dance critics.
Hindu.
December season.
Chennai.
Bharatanatyam factories.
I am not going to say.
So you have to say something.
Fifth Amendment.
Amendment.
Or whatever amendment.
Second amendment.
Second, whatever amendment. One of those amendments. Which
Right to
Bharatanatyam factory, many dance schools that exist in India today, and India or in the US today.
Okay. Bharatanatyam competitions.
No.
That's actually a very good answer.
So no.
I'm not a person who
Oh.
thinks dance and music. I mean, it's meant for competing. I feel you should dance yourself. I never participated. I don't advise my students to do.
Okay. US tours and workshops.
One too many these days.
Okay. If you had to choose between Nritta and Abhinaya.
Okay.
Okay. Your favorite Bani?
Very funny.
Second favorite Bani?
Venkateshwara Satyam Kuchipudi Bani.
I should go ask for a third one because these two you are associated
Yeah.
with. So something you're not associated with.
Pandanalur and
Okay.
then Tanjavur, both
Okay.
equally.
Fashion in Bharatanatyam these days that you like?
You mean designer costumes?
Sure. Fashion or trend or something.
Yeah, something that you like.
I don't know. I like the way Malavika and Valli were very simple costumes, but striking. And I like that. I like those.
And something these days, a trend that you don't like.
In the fashions.
Yeah.
I'm still talking about fashions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Synthetic materials for costumes, modern.
Okay.
I've seen groups, many people in synthetic costumes. And
Jill costume.
yeah.
The jigga types.
Yeah.
Quickly, Shringara or Bhakti?
Shringara Bhakti.
Some preferences, like who do you think is the most promising upcoming dancer?
I don't know. I've seen, I guess upcoming. Jyotsna Jagannathan is very good.
Okay. Your role model in life?
My mother.
Your favorite contemporary soloist? By contemporary, I mean anybody who's a soloist today.
My favorite contemporary soloist. Not younger than I am. Only is my 2 years. My sister is junior, which makes her 8 years my junior. And she be a contemporary? I guess we occupy the stage as
Yeah.
So you said Valli?
Yeah, I like Valli very much.
Okay. An underrated dancer according to you?
Underrated dancer. I don't know. I used to think of Saroja Khokar was one of those. She was brilliant. And she wasn't seen as much as she should have.
Okay, an overrated dancer?
That needs a separate session because I have to give you a list.
If I had known that, I would have chosen that for Devil's Advocate.
Plenty of overrated dancers.
Okay, what do people mean when they say the following? Today's audience has no patience or interest in classical dance.
I think they're trying to find an excuse.
Um,
It depends on which audience you're presenting to.
okay. I am a traditionalist.
Wow. Depends on you mean the sentence. I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah, and the
I am
center.
too.
Okay, so some of them are.
There are quite a few who are traditionalists, but then what they do is they use traditions, but they use them in a innovative fashion to suit today's audience and today's the time frame, today's world. But they are not changing. They're not changing their traditions or the idiom of dance. They have not sacrificed that. Then they are traditionalists.
Okay. The government is not doing enough for classical arts.
Sure.
No, what do the dancers mean when they say that?
I do not know in India what they mean by that because I have no idea. I thought there were scholarships and all that. But I know that generally there's not that much government funding for the arts anyway. So it's true. The government doesn't do that much.
Do you have a favorite dance musician or a music artist associated with dance?
A favorite for one is musician, and then what's the other one?
Musician for dance, dance musicians.
Dance musician. Oh, a lot of favorites. I don't have a favorite.
Okay. What do you think about a lot of couples dancing?
It's nice. It's nice. I like to see because I think you can see the Tandava and the Lasya side by side. And it's beautiful. I can just imagine how Shiva and Parvati must have looked dancing together. It's a beautiful thing to see.
And thematic concerts?
Huh?
Thematic concerts? Concerts which are based on thematic.
Makes sense. If you have a concept and then you're able to connect things together, it somehow, brings everything to, everything closer together because there's actually an idea running through everything rather than just isolated dances. But, I'm still happy with just a general markup too.
Okay, group dancing, group dance production or a solo dance?
I still like a solo dance. I still love a solo dance. I like an unhurried varnam without any trappings. I like padams, javalis. Sometimes I feel I wish I could close my eyes and relive, the old performances by lots of great people because they're very beautiful and spiritual experiences to watch them in action. Group productions are visually interesting, probably challenging to the teacher because choreographing group work is envisioning the big picture is not easy, and they have their pros and their cons. They are very visually really very, very entertaining. And for the general public, the lay people, they seem to be more interesting. They are, they are, huh?
No, go on.
And so they are also money making propositions for a lot of sabhas today, because you have a group production by teacher A, teacher B, then you're ready. I'm sure you are bound to have a full audience. First and foremost, they have like 100 people and all the parents will buy the tickets. Then they will probably bring all their friends. So you're always ensured of a large audience if you call this teacher, and for their productions. So they are that way, And I feel that they're also good because they encourage a lot of dancers and dancers who may not otherwise have an opportunity to do, who probably are good only for a group presentation, do have an opportunity. Okay. After all, when they spend so many years learning, I'm glad that they have an opportunity to perform, at least through these. So that way it has its good points.
Okay. Arangetrams today?
One too many. Okay.
And last question, like if you had any advice for young dancers, what would it be?
Don't be in a hurry to learn dances. First, make sure that your foundation is very, very strong. Be patient. This is not something you learn for here and now. And don't give up after 2 years saying, oh, it's hard, you cannot do it. Because it's only after that that you will really start enjoying it. I'm not a quitter. I don't have much patience with quitters. So I tell everyone, don't stop, don't quit. Shouldn't quit anything. Keep doing it because you will reap a lot of benefits from this as you continue. Because these art forms have been honed over centuries and centuries. So there's so much in them that only when you learn slowly will you really begin to understand the depth. And as you grow older, you really appreciate learning them properly. Because what you learn in a hurry, you forget very quickly.
All right, Akka, that wraps up my segment of rapid fire questions.
Yeah, this episode there are some firsts for Arattarangetram. This is the first episode where the special guest is like face to face with us rather than connecting from another geographical location. So that's one first. And the second first is going to be that for viewers from this episode onwards, we are going to ask a question to you, and you can send us the answers, your guesses and everything to arattarangetram@gmail.com, or reply to us to the Facebook, or post the answers in the video YouTube link, wherever you think. So, but try to make it a reference to the episode that we are talking about. So today, the question that we want to ask to viewers is, Shubha, you have the picture up?
Yeah, I do have it up.
Okay. So everyone knows this bronze statue of Nataraja. Everyone has seen it. All dancers have seen it. Okay. Now, when we see a close-up of this Nataraja, we see something on Shiva's head or crown. We see a snake, we see a skull, and something else like a fan. So the question is, what is that?
What is that fan made of?
Yeah, what's that fan made of? Send us your guesses, send us your answers. If you know it, that's very well and good. If you think you know it but not sure, still send us. We'll be able to tell you more about it in the next episode.
Yes. Thank you so much, Akka, for joining us today.
I'm so glad
It's
I'm
very late in the night.
I know.
No, that's okay. It's worth it. I've come to know three
Shubha.
other special people through this. Fourth one I have known before, but now I've come to know the others, and you're wonderful people. I really, I hope I will get to meeting you one day. Come and visit us in Houston.
Thank you.
Definitely.
We had a very wonderful session today, and I think we really enjoyed talking to you, discussing with you, and we also are happy that you also were open to this informal discussion of things about dance and dance related discussions. So we hope that you come to the future episodes of Arattarangetram at some other time.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Keep up your
Thank
good
you.
work, young people.
Thank
Doing
you.
great service.
And season's greetings to all our viewers in Chennai and for
December.
Yeah.
16th.
Yeah.
Summer season.
Not the December season, the season greeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Good morning. Not even good night.
Bye, Akka.
Bye.
Bye.